We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. 7:30. We have the update on Washington Drive. You want to?
Yeah, we're going to ask for another continuance, and the reason being that a letter was just received from town council today. And I and the engineers for Mr. Shaw haven't had the chance to look at it yet. But I thought I'd give you a quick update, and the engineer from Green is here, and Jimmy Clyde is here, and we just talked out in the hall, and I think we're basically pretty much on this, of the same mind. The existing conditions is that there's drainage structures as Dogwood Road hits Washington Drive, the unimproved portion of Washington Drive. And those drainage structures are taking an awful lot of water from the hill, and correct me if I'm wrong, taking an awful lot of water from the hill and running it down the unimproved portion of Washington Drive. So what Mr. Shaw has proposed to do is to build a couple of homes on Washington Drive to improve the way up to the homes that he's building. And as part of that, this board rightfully asked for drainage to be considered, improved, and solved in that area. Even though I believe that's excessive of what we've asked any other lot owner to do, because what you're asking him to do is not take the drainage that he's going to be creating from his own lot, but to take a lot of the other drainage on the hill and solve it for the town. But he's agreeable to doing that. Now, his first pass at it was to bring a drainage culvert down Washington Drive into what is now an existing swale, but he would have to deepen and widen that existing swale and then line it with riprap in order to push it along to the end, and then it would pick up into a drainage structure that is close to the improved portion of Washington Drive and into a culvert down at that end, or a catch basin down at that end that's maintained by the town. And in so doing, he would also create a drainage structure on what's the far easterly side of Lot E. So he would catch all the runoff from the lot that he's building and bring that down into the same culvert. So as I read town council's letter, and I had a conversation with him by phone, his objection is that this open swale at this end of it, albeit it's already there, and Mr. Shaw's position was to improve it and better it so it catches more water to benefit everybody, not just his lots. Town council says at the outset, he doesn't think Mr. Shaw should have the ability to build a drainage swale that will impede anybody else's use of Washington Drive going in either direction if the next lot wants to be developed by someone else. And so, again, although we sort of object to having to solve this whole problem for the whole length of the road, Mr. Shaw's position is it would be all right with him to replace that with a drainage,
Closed drainage system.
catch basins
or
and manholes
just
underground,
manholes,
which Mr. Green just says is a problem solver. I mean, he needs to see the calculations, but it's a legitimate problem solver. Mr. Clyde says it's beneficial to him just because he's only got the catch basin at the end to clean out and maintain after that. And it truly does pick up the water from the hill and solve a lot of problems for a lot of neighbors, not just the two lots Mr. Shaw is developing.
What about the ledge up there? Is he going to be able to get it all to fit in there with the rock that's up there now? Or
We
you
don't,
have to,
we don't know if there's ledge. It's just
Steep.
glacial till soil, yeah.
And I had an initial conversation with JJ of this, and Markey and Ruben, Mr. Markey, and he said it's doable. It's more expensive, but it's doable. It's a lot more expensive, but it's
so you're
doable.
going to have another set of drawings done
We'll
with
get another
it,
set of drawings with that
the
done.
closed system. So now there is a catch basin to tie to on the improved part of,
Washington down there, Grove.
you're going to have to go all the way to Grove.
Yeah. No, because this already exists. At the end of this open swale,
Forest.
there's already a catch. I'm sorry, Jimmy, you have to help me because I don't know what you call it, the pipe in
He
there.
basically has to pipe, he had already a pipe from Forest over
Okay.
like
he can-
Grove.
he can
So
catch
he has
that
to just
forest.
catch one section, basically he has to pipe the section that he has as an open swale on Washington.
So I think he's gonna do a catch basin, according to Mr. Green, a catch basin at the bottom here of this new drainage on that lot, and then a closed pipe. And it will be underground, and that way the next person who comes along and wants to pay to their lot can.
Drainage system in place. Since the residents did come out, I should at least ask if they have any questions or any comments. We're gonna continue this, they're gonna bring out a new set of plans, but you understand what he's trying to do, and do you have any questions?
For us,
We understand, with the drainage. But I guess I have a question.
Okay. Name, please, for Mark.
My name is Skip Ciccarelli, 45 Washington Drive. And it has nothing to do with the drainage, but it has to do with the situation.
Okay.
It may just be semantics. They keep referring to this as driveway road extension. And has that been defined yet as to whether it is a driveway or a road?
Well, what
And-
we're asking him to do is to extend the roadway so that he has frontage on it. It originally was gonna start off as a driveway, and if you remember correctly, we said, no, he couldn't do that.
Right.
He has to extend the roadway. So it's really a roadway
It
extension,
is a roadway, okay. Does that,
How wide is it?
just for two cars, yeah,
Just for two cars, you're gonna waive the requirement for paving the entire width,
correct.
which makes more sense, because you don't wanna have asphalt for two houses, I think.
well, what is being waived in the width of the road?
He's proposing a 19-foot wide paved, private road. It's not gonna be public.
Or was it 50 feet or something?
No, for the
No.
whole.
For the extent of the lot.
Yeah, 19 feet wide, 240 feet long.
Right.
Okay, so it will be a private road.
He's not asking the town to accept it, in other words.
Well, I guess one of my
Presently,
points
not
is, that there's talk of a stop sign on Dogwood. And it seems silly to me to have a stop sign on a public way, giving the right-of-way to a private road and/or a driveway.
That doesn't make
Grab
sense.
that.
No, it's, right, stop signs are up to the police department.
Police department really dictates that kind of stuff.
And that's up, the police department, it might not be on Dogwood, it could be at the end of that extension. I mean, I didn't really get the impression one way or another from the police chief's comment.
Can I respond through the chair? I think if discussion is had with the police and they realize he's not paving the entire width and you're giving him a 19-foot right to pave for a private way to two homes, I think they're going to retract that requirement or need for a stop sign. But even if they propose one, I would ask them and propose that it be at the end of the two new homes getting onto Dogwood. As you said, that makes a lot more sense.
Right.
From the Washington private.
Right.
The Washington private, just to let people and guests leaving there and maybe deliveries leaving there to stop, because that is a blind corner, I agree with
That's
you.
that's a paper road presently, correct?
Yes.
Right.
And the paper road goes from Dogwood all the ways over to Forest, correct?
Yes, past Forest to Grove.
Yeah, to Grove, that's the paved part.
And by the looks of this swale that's already all in there, if this road was to continue on through to the other place, that swale is going to be in the middle of a road?
Right.
Or the potential for a road that
Well, that's why
should
it's
or possibly
That's why
extend
it's-
past?
Right. That's why he's been proposing to put it underground, because town council said he can't put it there, because it impedes the potential of somebody else to access their lots and to do something with their lots, because the swale's in the
And how
way.
far does the road extend into Lot E?
It doesn't at this time.
Well, it shows it going about halfway the length of Lot E, right?
Just beyond now.
Oh, the road he's going to be creating is going to go about halfway to Lot E.
And how does Lot E get 150 feet of frontage, or?
They're essentially going to have frontage on a road that is brought to road standards by virtue of the fact that it is potentially wide enough and has the correct drainage, but doesn't need to be built because it's not serving any more than Lot E, so it doesn't need to be built for its whole length. But by bringing it to the driveway on Lot E, we satisfy the requirement that it's of sufficient width and suitable safety for emergency vehicles and other things.
And it can access Lot E. That
And
Lot E
where's-
can be accessed.
And where's the turnaround, into Elm Road? That's how the fire trucks are gonna turn around?
Currently, it's proposed into Elm Road. That's one other point we probably should resolve today. There was discussion about leaving that gravel, and it makes sense to the ecology to leave it gravel. Mr. Clyde, I thought at a private meeting had agreed to gravel, and then in your letter you said paved, so.
Well, that's because I heard the fire department wanted it paved, and I think I said he had to do maintenance. I don't think I said paved. I don't even remember what I said now.
Because if that's okay, I'll just meet with the fire department and resolve whether that needs to be paved or not.
But now
It's just
you-
the stub of Elm.
But it's gonna have to
Fire
be
department
properly
was looking
maintained.
for
And is
a-
Alan gonna
and a
connect into this?
guarantee.
One second.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Your turn.
I was just inferring that the fire department was looking for a paved turnaround and a guarantee of like 5 years of maintenance and all of that.
Pardon?
Either or.
Either or, right.
And if I could also respond to that, I'd like just the opportunity to sit and talk with the fire department, because I think also if the fire department realizes it's a private way serving 2 houses, they're going to have far less concern. I think by looking at this plan, it looks like it's a proposal to develop the whole length of Grove and service more homes, and I think that's just not on the table yet.
The issue was discussed slightly, and because the road was 240 feet and they were concerned about the steep grade, that's why they really wanted to turn around as well. When it was 150 feet, they didn't care, but 240 feet,
Got it.
it made it more difficult. He wanted it paved because he's concerned, and that's why he asked for detail about what's the slope, and is it gonna wash out with the gravel, and they're not sure if they'll be able to back their trucks through. That's why he's just concerned gravel doesn't last forever, and that's what their issue is.
With the volume of water coming down the hill and everything.
How did this go from originally it came in, wanted a 50-foot driveway?
Right.
It went from 50 feet, where Mark, you were,
At 50
you
feet,
said
we're
he
looking
needed
at-
to have 100, 150 feet of frontage. Then it went back down to 50. Then it comes in now, then it was 150.
Well, then when he
And now it's
decided,
240.
when he decided he was going to do something with the second lot, it made sense to combine.
What, he got the
them
approval,
together.
he saw his opening with the 50 feet, went for the 100, and now he's going,
It's not really that, the
mean, I
equation's
don't
not
understand
that
how it-
simple. The equation's not quite that simple. When the cost started to get up there to develop, it made sense to have more than one lot sharing that cost. There's water hookups, there's water lines that have to go in, there's drainage that has to go in, and there's driveway and paving that has to go in. So it made sense to
That's
pick up
good.
a second lot.
That's brought to Elm Road in
Right.
case that gets
We
developed
made him
for the
go as
future.
far as Elm, because if you're gonna do both houses, you gotta at least go to Elm, and that's where we wanted to turn around. That's why it morphed into 240 feet.
and Elm presently does not go all the way to the end.
No.
I haven't driven down there in a while, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Shafia Chicarelli, 45 Washington Drive, and a number of neighbors, abutters, submitted a letter. I'm just wondering if you did have a chance to
We have
read
it.
that.
We got it.
You know, because one of the things that's actually, we had asked, I'm glad to see the letter from the town's attorney. One of the things that we had asked in the letter had to do with the question of the legality of the drainage that was being proposed. Also, I don't know, you know, given that I'm a layperson, I don't know if this is something that's in the purview of the planning board, but we became aware as abutters that Doug Shaw has expressed interest in some of the other lots that are in that area. And so, you know, it is possible that those will be further developed. Additionally, it was really very interesting to learn about the current ownership of the 2 lots. And again, you know, I'm not sure if this is something that is relevant for the planning board, but they are listed, the copies of the deeds are very interesting in showing that originally it looked like they were going to be sold both to GS Holdings, and then that's crossed out, and you know, our letter addresses the current ownership of those 2 lots. One is in the name of Douglas Shaw, the other is in the name of Jeffrey Garabato, who is Doug Shaw's registered agent of GS Holdings. So, you know, as abutters, we had questions about that discussion that happened early on in these meetings around 2 adjacent lots under the same ownership, and whether in fact 2 houses could be built or not?
Before
Right,
this,
and then-
go ahead.
Right, if and when they apply for a building permit, then Roland will have them do the small lot. You have to go through that question at that time. That's his jurisdiction, not the board's.
Right. Yes, Roland has to ascertain that they've been kept as small lots, non-conforming lots since the subdivision went in. I would assume that Doug knows that and has made sure that he's okay with that, but Roland is the final determination, and he has a whole checklist to go through, because this has happened, it's been happening more and more over the past couple of years, so he has a procedure for that. Anyone else? We're gonna continue this till, you
Well,
want to
that's up to
try to
you.
get up to the 14th, or
Oh, we'll get here as fast as you have your next meeting. Is that March 14th?
March 14th, yes. 3 weeks,
What's that?
3 weeks, something like that.
If it's fine.
So we'll continue, can we put them on first thing, or? Yeah, we'll do it at 7:30. Put it on for 7:30 on the 14th.
And we'll know at least a few days ahead of time if we're not ready yet.
We'll have town council weigh in on the final version of this to make sure we're all on the same page and see where this goes. Do you have any, since we got you out, anything you want to add to it?
I mean, we issued a comment letter, and the applicant's engineer pretty much satisfactorily,
On everything?
responded to everything. There were a few of those items that we were just discussing were things that we deferred to, either the police department for the stop sign or the fire department and the highway department for the turnaround, and everyone seems, or the water department for the water connections. From that packet that Mara gave you, they've all chimed in at this point, so we're okay at this point.
Thank you.
I will see you on the 21st, thank you.
14th.
14th, excuse me, yeah, 14th, yeah, please.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
All right, we have, an informal update with Mr. Park on the, the point, where we're at with the point. And we're
I almost got stuck up there today.
putting you on television so everyone can know what's going on.
Well, I wanted to, we've said we'd be in front of you every couple months just to keep you up to speed where we are. In a couple weeks, we will present to you, now that we have all of the buildings under final design contract drawings. Thought we'd give you an update. Tim will give my quick update, a 2 or 3 minute presentation on just how the A&R plan lines it. We'll be going for an A&R in a couple weeks that just basically tweaks the lines so they actually fit the buildings as we find them materialized. But it is good to know, as a big picture is our project, most of the phase 1 utilities have been completed. If you were there before the snow hit, you would have seen that the P1 level, or the first pad, has been paved. They're now starting the cut the rest of the road up to the phase 2 area. And as soon as the thaw comes, they should be completing the P2 level. That said, we had a lot of interest in our New York showing of the project. It seems like there was still a difficult time. The anchors are the most difficult ones to land, but we have a lot of interest from restaurants. We have a lot of interest from entertainment providers, other than the gaming. We are not doing any casinos. But we do have theater interest, so we're negotiating those agreements. Most of the agreements we are looking to do now, we've basically gone into the full marketing effort at this point, pretty much on track. We said we would go through, get the permits, we would build the site. We would start screening out the general merchandising mix which we have, and then now our brokers have been cut loose to go market the space for phase 1. So this first phase is expected to start opening buildings as early as this fall. We are speccing the first 3 buildings as part of our, actually, first 2 buildings, buildings A and B. which are, we think will create the impetus to get the anchors to sign when they see steel actually going up. Still a healthy dose of skepticism in the economy, frankly. We also have, and let me just share with you the overall site plan. So I believe this is a draft. It's literally off, there may be tweaks to it, but I thought you'd like to see how well presentable Littleton really is when you look at the demos and our leasing packages, which are sent out to, will be going out shortly. It is drafts, but anything I give you is you're welcome to share, although it's subject to change. I think the one I want to do is this one. Let me show this one. Let me just show this one.
That's fine, that is probably one.
That's all right. So, pretty much in keeping with the original plan, we have, the roadway being built up to here. We call this P1, P2, P3. These are the buildings that will start now. It includes a building that's been pretty much traditionally laid out for anywhere from 2 to 3 tenants to one up to 60,000 square foot tenant, nothing larger than that. Although there are a lot of anchors that are much larger than that have recently expressed interest, but we are happy to keep to the smaller size tenants, keeping with the zoning. There's a very neat little 2-story portion here that bridges from the lower elevation to the upper elevation, and then we have the remaining stores here. This part here is becoming, it's going to be sort of our sexy entrance to the overall center. It transitions from this sort of anchor pad up into an area that has pedestrian streetscape. We're envisioning inlaid chess tables in the plaza areas. The pricing for the big screen movie theater that we were looking to do there is, it may be prohibitive, but we're still evaluating some options for that. We just met today with Indian Hill Music, which, by the way, is a great organization in Littleton. We're going to look to do certain things like build stages and what have you, so that we can have some performances and also give them an opportunity to promote Indian Hill Music on site. One of their big challenges being inland in Littleton is they don't have the exposure to destination shoppers. So I think our idea is we'll probably donate a kiosk or something, or a stage that allows them to brand that type of use, and then we'll use it for other things, whether it's summertime, skits or plays, or kids to do some performances. But we're trying to activate the area. We have 2 or 3 entertainment, what I'll call recreational spaces. It's this area here, which you can show there. We have an area up here, which was intentionally carved out earlier from the wetlands, so it's not in the wetlands, but we've preserved that. We actually are contemplating splitting this building, which was originally one long building, into 2 buildings to create the same kind of walkway effect through it. And then we have basically, this part here, which would include, in all likelihood, a cinema and then some additional retail. We also have, on a separate track with this, knowing this is perhaps 12 more months out than the rest of this part of the center, we are fully evaluating office headquarters options as well, with cinema and office. So those are both still sort of live in the making. And we are contemplating the hotel now. We have actually gotten interest from 2 or 3, both the Marriott and Hilton chains have approached us. Economics are a little bit tough. This is a pretty costly site to develop, so we're trying to wrestle through that right now. So that's pretty much the update. I will let Tim give a quick update on what the A&R is, so that you can do that.
In the capacity of the hotel?
Yeah, right now it's we're looking, I think probably one brand is looking for around 96 rooms. The other brand is looking for about 120 rooms. So it's that sweet spot of 90 to 120. It will not be a 200-room hotel, nor will it be a smaller 60-room hotel. So they usually jump in those. There's usually either the small hotels in the 60-room range, then you get to the 100-room range, and then you get to the 200-room range. So I think they're all looking at the 100-room range with some conference capability as well.
And sort of the division of long-term or...
Yeah, they're actually looking to do a business hotel.
To an extended stay.
Just extended stay completely, or a mix?
No, it's actually not necessarily extended stay. It's, although I think one of the brands, I forget which one, has more interested in doing extended. The ones that we're actually most likely to enter will be more of a business hotel, so a slightly smaller footprint than the extended stay hotel version. But it's interesting to see that IBM, we've been in touch with them, they have a lot of interest in making sure that the hotel succeeds, so.
Any, you're gonna give us any idea what might be going down there? You're
Well,
still?
yeah, well, we will know probably within the first wave of what I'll call initial. We have been focused on the restaurants. We are wrestling with the anchors because they're proving to be a little bit more scarce just because no one knows which way the economy is going. But we will have probably 4 or 5 restaurants in phase 1. One of them may get pushed off to phase 2 just because of location. They would include, in all likelihood, a higher-end sports bar type family restaurant. It would include an ethnic, possibly Japanese, Mexican, a seafood place, and possibly a high-end steakhouse. So those are the 4 or 5 restaurant concepts that we're looking at. In addition to that, there are a host of purveyors of yogurt and other quick casual type that have interest in this area as a whole. I would think probably within the next 90 days I will be able to announce a few of them. But those are the types of tenants we're looking at.
Adult entertainment, huh?
Well, on TV, I would never even acknowledge that response, but
No, I mean like, darts for men,
yeah.
What do you think?
Exactly. I will tell you, our game, our demographics kind of imply this wants to be a slightly more family-friendly center, in that we are actually, where some centers look to discourage kids and teenagers, we're actually, we actually put together a group of 12 or 13 kids between the age of 15 and 18 and asked what do they like about shopping centers and malls and entertainment. And we got a really interesting list, everything from a curling rink in the winter to a climbing wall to just places to hang out by fire pits and what have you. So we are kind of gauging which ones are real and possible, which ones are insurable, and which ones won't scare our tenants away.
No Chuck E. Cheese's?
No Chuck E. Cheese's. I think those probably, we'll leave that for others. But I think the idea of having some family restaurants and the theater really is a big driver for this. And so there seems to be real interest from 2 theater companies. So assuming we can get over the hurdle of how much it costs to build one versus how much they can afford to pay, we'd hope we'd have that start earlier than later.
In the past, you mentioned interest in trying to attract EMS or LB, and mentioned that
Yes.
you're not looking to expand, but since you mentioned climbing walls,
Yeah.
REI.
Yeah,
has
we
climbing
are still
walls.
trying to chase, but EMS apparently has one of its most successful stores in Acton, from what we're told.
It's small.
But it's small. The climbing wall stuff is partly more, would probably be a separate operator that we would actually bring on board just to, really just to allow something to do besides shop, whether it's an EMS or not. We are looking at, what's that?
Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, Bass Pro unfortunately is 105,000 square feet, which makes it a little challenge. But there's, there has been, we do need to find, basically 4 anchors to make the center actually kick off. We will probably take the risk on this right away. We're already speccing the shell on this part here. There has been, I've tried to stay in touch with Jack Donlin and what have you, but there has been enormous grocery interest, which I find rather peculiar. I shared that with Jack. Actually, Jack, I think, was one of the big supporters of gaming because he knew that would solve that problem. But it's interesting because there seems to be a lot of interest there. But we haven't gone down that road quite yet. And we're keeping, I know Jack's a local. I stay in touch with him and let him kind of know where things are going. But that's pretty much it. We have, hopefully, as you can see, we'll do a start the vertical foundations for this whole complex here as early as next week, or 2 weeks, as soon as the snow stops. I think this weekend snow forecast has postponed us another week. But we've started the foundation, ordering the steel. Just one last update before I have, well, why don't you give you a quick update on the A&R plan, just so they can...
Sure.
And then I'll end with where we are on the roadway, which I think is important.
Just for the record, Tim Power, which is now with Land Strategies. There's not much to the A&R. I mean, as it implies, it's approval not required. It's just shifting some of the lot lines around. I don't have an overlay with the old lot lines because it was actually just too confusing. The only thing that's changed, and the reason for the property line change, is as we design these buildings, you push a little bit here, pull a little bit there, and these lot lines that are right on the building need to just adjust for that. So, and we checked again, make sure that the way our leasing is coming together, that we comply with the zoning of no more than 60,000 square feet of retail on any one lot. So, I believe maybe this lot line may have looked a little bit different previously, but it was just to make sure that these buildings were separate from this building, and we comply with that zoning. But same number of lots, still just 7 lots. We were able just to sort of move things around, but essentially the same theme. With the surveyor who did all the work and the calculations, checked all the zoning requirements for lot shape and whatnot. So
You said 60,000 per lot, and that one there looks like the line goes right through the building where you go to your, yeah, right there.
this one.
If that one, 60,000 is on the left and you have 60,000 on the right and the lot line goes through it, you still met your thing, but you could have 120,000 square foot one-shot building, correct?
Actually, yeah, it's a little difficult because of the fire and the code requirement to separate the buildings. There's actually 2 separate foundations for each building, as well as a 2-hour firewall. Actually, this one, for the 0 lot line coverage. We have...
I'm not saying there's a problem with it.
Oh, I'm saying we could get a Target or somebody, but the problem with that is we really are looking for this diverse tenant mix.
Okay.
So this building here is really separated primarily because of the uses. The cinema, which is not considered retail but assembly use under the code, is sort of separated because of the fire ratings and what have you for the lot as well. So this is likely to be retail. This is either going to be office or cinema if we switch them. But yes, that's a good point. There is
This wall will never be open. I mean, to open up the wall and then fireproof everything and keep the property line there, it would be easier to go and amend the zoning and do all that before you actually.
We did
do
this.
Separate stores.
We did the 0 side setback requirements for this. That was part of
Yeah, I remember.
the new overlay.
You know what's nice about that, if I could just add, as we've gone through this a little bit more, if you look at, it really became apparent as our architects were designing it, if you look at things that don't have 0 setback, you end up having these gaping holes of 50 feet between the frontage, and all it becomes is dumpster locations or sidewall that is usually cheap sidewall, because there are no windows, there's no fenestration, because there's, on walls that separate sidewalls, never have windows. In this case, we've actually windowed this side because we believe it's important to have the front door window. But when you look at the renderings and the 3D images, all of our dumpster locations are all backside. So it's kind of a hidden benefit of the 0. I would actually encourage you to pass that as a sort of a general zoning thing for mixed-use developments, because it really opens up the ability to make the pedestrian walkway completely continuous. And the only places we've opened it is where we're having pedestrian pathways intentionally with fire pits and what have you.
It's like a cityscape, if you look at the pictures. It looks
Yeah.
like we did in the cityscape.
With the 8 feet together, it makes a nice community. Now, the walkway, I mean, people have done interesting things different places. I can think of recent being in Salt Lake City and the Creek Way or wherever it goes through. So people will be able to navigate through and go back. There will be pedestrian way, both in front and going back to Phase 3 or in that
Correct.
direction.
I mean, the entire, we've been very focused on how we connect anyone who parks here through the center. It's here to see it. In terms of stairwells, creative little plaza areas and things actually invite you through. And some of the things that we're actually looking at now that haven't been finalized, but we're hoping that they can be done on an affordable budget, is, for example, in some areas here, we're looking to do firefly lighting, which is lighting up some of the natural environment, but also there's these new LED lights that almost look like Christmas lights, but they actually create this firefly look that kind of creates a nice little glow. So we're looking to light up some of the areas with some of these special lighting fixtures, really to draw the customer's attention and sort of lead you through the center. So we are envisioning maybe a little performing hut here, some passive areas for sitting, maybe the fire pit, something like that down in this location. We imagine spill out from any restaurants we have onto these plaza areas. I think that will sort of activate the whole center. And we are changing 40 feet from here to here, so you have to fool them into making that walk up the hill.
And for the entertainment area, at least on the Board of Selectmen presentation,
Sure.
I mentioned it was sort of a mid-level entertainment theater, wasn't high-end, but not low-end somewhere.
Yeah, no, we're not doing, I wouldn't say high-end or low-end, they're all high-end these days,
Yeah.
but they're not massive. It's not a 16-screen, 3,000-seat cinema. It's,
Right.
we're trying to actually work it down. The cinemas range today from, 30,000, 35,000 square feet up to about 80,000 square feet. We're targeting at 35,000 to 40,000 square foot, maybe 45,000 square foot, depending on how much concession space they need or party room space they need. Great.
Thank you.
Sounds
Sure.
good.
And last thing on the road, if you care to know, we're sort of slowed down. You guys probably owe Jim a raise for all the work he did for the past 6 months, 9 months. We are pretty much on schedule. I think we're on budget. We have a few change orders that we're negotiating with the contractor, but for winter shutdown, this was all planned and customary practice at this point. But I think they're actually made some good progress. They got the initial paving down. I don't think there's been any problems with anything they've done. The state's happy, and we should be reactivating them, I'd hope, by end of March, sometime in that time frame.
It'll be exciting to see buildings starting to go up.
Yeah, we pulled the foundation permit a couple days ago.
No, the permit was pulled a month ago.
A month ago,
Yeah.
and I think you should see foundations and then steel going up at the latest by May.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions?
Oh, sounds good.
Looks very good, very nice.
About to close the meeting?
I move we close the meeting.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Great.
That's a early meeting. Early.
Good, Chair.
So,